Ask Reddit by Unfair Trust 2478. What unexpected event changed your life for the better? Deleted. Wow, that's a really good friend you found. A litter of Jack Russell pups was born in a town a few miles from my home. My mother and sister drove out to pick one, but when they arrived there was only one left, the runt of the litter, that no one else wanted. They brought her home and she was the sweetest, meekest, most playful, most tender dog you could imagine. She was with me through some very hard times and gave me a great deal of comfort. I'm sure she knew when I was low, but I'm sure there were also plenty of times she helped me that she didn't know about. She has been dead now for longer than she was ever alive. She passed away 19 years ago and I still dream about her from time to time. Love you, Kana. Whenever you dream about your puppy, it's just them visiting you because they miss you. Moving from Latin America to the US with a short notice. My family had been applying for a green card and we thought we'd have to wait years for it. However, 4 months later we got it. We had a short window of time to move and I hated it. But looking back at it, my life would have been completely different if we didn't move. Coming to the US, I ended up having my first job at 16, not usual in Latin America, and paid my own college where I graduated with 2 engineering degrees. I had 11 internships in major companies across the US where I'd learned so much and have met incredible people along the way. I've had the opportunity through some job benefits to travel the world and the US. If I would have stayed in Latin America, I wouldn't have been able to afford all of this, let alone live alone, pay for my own car and support my parents a bit financially whenever I can. Thinking about my L. The US is lucky to have you. After 50 years of trying to be my sister's friend, she started going at me once again. I got up, walked out and cut her out of my life. It's been 4 years and I love not being told what a horrible person I am every 3 months, or so, over what she has created in her mind. That sounds so freeing. I hate to say it but COVID. It saved my marriage as I no longer had to work nights, 12 hours rotating shifts. I was able to find a job I really wanted all while WFH. I was able to spend more time with my husband and cats. I felt bad because I knew COVID changed a lot of people's lives for the worse, but mine changed for the better, directly because of the pandemic, and for a long time, I wasn't sure how to feel about it. I'm still not, but enough time has passed that I don't think about it much anymore. Glad you came out of it better off too. My parents splitting up when I was young. Usually it's a horrible thing for a child to go through, but this was actually a positive thing. She was a drug abusing mentally unwell lunatic, and I'm not joking. She would drink unhealthy amounts of alcohol and abuse drugs like it was a 9-5 job. Her mere presence in the household had a massive negative effect on me, my father and younger brother. She ended up getting incredibly argumentative and was non-stop attention seeking the final 2 years of their relationship, and eventually my dad snapped and told her to get out of the house. I remember being incredibly confused and sad at the time, but now when I think about it, it was a really good thing to kick her out and break up with her. Getting fired, arrested and convicted for something I didn't do. First job out of school, I was screwed over big time by my first ever employer. I was in a job that I didn't love. I was accused of something bad. I couldn't prove I didn't do it, but because I couldn't prove I didn't do anything, I was charged and found guilty. My sentence: educational assistance to get better qualifications. 15 years later, I'm in a job I love and earning 3x as much as my former colleagues who just stood by and watched me get screwed over. Do you know what happened to the employer that badly screwed you up? My wife got pregnant. It was not planned, and I never expected to be a father. I'm now a stay-at-home dad and I love it. AWW. I got dumped by the guy I thought was my person, like he legitimately was the most compatible, comfortable, Easy to adore guy I'd ever met in my life, and he really seemed to feel the same about me. Unfortunately, he had to rearrange his life very suddenly and I didn't fit, so he pretty much cracked my heart in half by ending things. I've always known I wanted to be a writer, but the last 15 years, a horrible marriage, divorce and a lot of emotional damage have kept me from doing it. After going through losing this guy and the reasons for it, I'm writing again and have been inspired to write a novel that I actually have a beginning, middle, and end for. I'm in love with it so far and it feels amazing to be creating again, especially with a purpose. He always encouraged me to write, and in the end, I guess he really did. Parents died. Aunt asked me what I was going to go to do. Told her I was going to ride my motorcycle until I was ready to come home. Did the US, and while in New Zealand, ran into an old friend. He asked me if I still wanted to go to Antarctica. Yup. 12 years on ice, 4 flighter close in McMurdo, 2 winters at Palmer Station, 14 months at the South Pole and 2 long tours on the NB Palmer IBRV, icebreaker research vessel. I met the love of my life in high school, and after 15 years, we realized we were more than friends and have been dating almost a year and a half. In high school, when I was 17, while sitting on a bus on the way home from some extracurricular event, I ended up in conversation about video games and random nerdy shit with a girl who went to a school mine was co-ed with. This was a huge deal for me because 1, I'm extremely shy, and 2, I couldn't ever find anybody to share these interests with at my small rural school. She became one of my best friends in the world, even 16 years later, and she's who introduced me to even more amazing people who are so incredibly important in my life. She also pushed me outside my comfort zone to embrace the hobbies and interests I love, and she helped me grow into the person I was supposed to be. I'm so grateful to her. Randomly picked up a sport to get better physical fitness following a spinal cord injury, and now have talent scouts looking to train me further. Even without that, the sport has improved my physical and mental health hugely, as well as got me engaged in continual learning about how to be a better person morally. Which sport did you choose? I was working at a dive bar over a decade ago and was about to bang this chick that worked in the kitchen when her boyfriend showed up. I got to know him and we've been best friends ever since. Road trips, music festivals, Burning Man, you name it. We're both settled down and engaged to other women. We have no idea what happened to that original chick. Sitting at a bar watching Sports Center, when it actually showed highlights, on a Saturday night catching up on college football action, drinking a gin and coke. I was on a school trip and the day had ended. I decided to stop at the bar to catch up on the CFB action, while my friends went to the room to party. While at the bar, another guy comes up to me and asks if the spot next to me is taken. I say no. He sits, and we start discussing CFB, and the conversation ends up about me being interested in grad school. He told me to apply to the school where he got his PhD. I did, got accepted, and went there. While there I met my PhD advisor, and was convinced to change my research focus from experimental to computational, still solving the same type of problem. Now, 15 plus years later, I would not be where I am today, house, engaged, job I love, etc., if I hadn't decided to grab a drink and watch Sports Center at a hotel bar. Reminds me of the film Sliding Doors. COVID. Strange one, because for most people it was horrendous, but I hadn't long graduated with a microbiology degree and it essentially kickstarted my career as a scientist. Edit, just read a few comments also saying COVID, which I wasn't expecting. Got divorced. I'm a lot poorer and lost a lot of things, but I got my sanity and dignity back, and I no longer drink myself into a stupor every day. At university, a member of staff put my name forward for an elected full-time job role. I decided what the hell, and went for it, got elected, had the best year of my life, befriended some amazing people, learned a lot about myself, as well as worked out what I'd like to do in life. My sister and I had a huge fight, and since she's a narcissist she called the police on me. Although she was stomping on my foot and hitting me, I stomped on her foot and she calls the popo. So the cops came hours later and pull me out of my bed. I was quite asleep, and I freak out and my arm gets dislocated. I spend the night in jail. A friend takes me in. I live there a month when I hear from the city that I have a place in public housing. My rent went down $150, enabling me to own a car and live alone, which I should have been doing my entire life. I'm autistic as shit. Never been happier. Getting divorced at 28. Married again and I'm happier than ever with 2 little boys and an amazing wife. Randomly met this dude while riding mountain bikes and became great friends. I was about to leave the state for a job and he convinced me to stay a while and work with him. Found out I was pretty good at it and decided to stay here and run with it. Year later met my wife because of it. Few years after that I bought the business. I met my wife, started a family, bought a business, all because I met some dude mountain biking. He's my best friend and I sure owe him a lot. Honestly, COVID. Between the extra unemployment that actually was far more than what I was making previously and the various government payouts, I was able to completely pay off all my debt, something I didn't think was gonna be possible for years. I've been totally debt free ever since and even have some money in savings. Same. I actually found work from home during COVID and still make money this way and was able to pay off my low debt. I have friends who are in much worse shape, in massive debt or completely broke, despite having a high-paying job. My wife getting pregnant with twins. My wife was a drug addict and it affected our family for years. At year 23 of our marriage, I was at the point that I thought I hated this woman with every fiber of my being and was finally ready for a divorce. I was at my last straw. She ended up with a bad tooth infection that traveled down her throat and became septic. She was in the hospital ICU and was nearly dead on Christmas Eve, 2021. I had no idea how much I still loved this woman until I nearly lost her 3 years later. We are having the best relationship we've had since year 3. I realized that I couldn't imagine a life without her. Eater. She has been drug-free for at least 2 years prior to that hospital visit, but my resentment for her still carried. I failed an exam. Good thing my dog ate it unexpectedly.